Good morning, everyone. We'll roll into the 10:30 meeting now. Don't forget to silence any phone or other gadget you have that might make noise. Any paperwork for us would go to Mr. Curran. We'll begin with the invocation. And Julie has been good enough to arrange for Pastor Cervantes to be here and lead us. And then after that, Commissioner Volrath will lead us in the pledge. If you wish to join us, please rise.
Let's bow our heads. Gracious God, we come before you with thanksgiving in our hearts this morning. We thank you for who you are and all that you've done. We recognize that everything we have comes from your generous hand, including the awesome responsibility that you have given this body. And so we thank you. We always approach with thanksgiving, but we also humbly acknowledge that we still need you. We need your help, and we need your help this morning in this meeting to give us discernment as we consider and digest information and consider situations. We ask for wisdom as we make decisions that will impact so many, and we also ask for your guidance as we move forward and act as a body. We also want to be accountable, not just to you, but to each other and to the least of these that we serve in this community. And so I ask this morning that you would bless each member of this body as they move forward, and that they would feel always the gravity of the responsibility that you have blessed them with, that their peers have blessed them with. And so God, we just want to end where we started with thanksgiving. We're thankful for all that you've done, for what you're doing, and what is to come. In your son's name we pray. Amen. Amen. God bless you. Yes, sir.
Please join me in the pledge.
You're welcome to stay, but we understand if you have folks to minister to, we take no offense if you have to leave.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Bell.
Here.
Curran.
Here.
Freeling. Present. Harrison.
Here.
Hinkleman.
Here.
Majerick.
Here.
Ott.
Here.
Pittsford.
Here.
Walrath.
Here.
Werfel. Here. Yarborough. Present. Elliott.
Here.
Mr. Chairperson, we have 12 present, 0 absent.
Thank you. Minutes from last week, from the 7th, need to be approved.
I'll make that motion.
Alex's hand signal indicated he was moving,
Well, you go
so we'll take it as
I
a
will
move by Ott, support by Freeling. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Madam Clerk, I understand we have some communications.
An email from Paul Karan, Decatur, Michigan, regarding 2 properties located in Harbert, received on September 11th, 2023. Please ask any questions to Chairperson Elliott.
Okay. Public comments about the resolutions. The consent calendar has the 3 honorary resolutions included. Hearing no public comments, we'll go to the consent calendar. Do we have any of the recipients of these honorary resolutions present? I don't see anyone.
Those are actually going to be presented to them at their meeting on Tuesday, and I think that Commissioner Ott's going to take those for us.
Okay. All right. Well, then it would be in order to move forward with the entire consent calendar. Motion to approve
I would make that motion.
by
support.
Freeling and supported by Harrison. The hand movement only is going to work one time. So will the clerk please call the roll?
Curran.
Yes.
Freeling.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Hinkleman.
Yes.
Majerick.
Yes.
Ott,
Yes.
Pittsburgh,
Yes.
Walrath,
Yes.
Warfel.
Yes.
Yarborough.
Yes.
I'm a yes also.
Ellie. Sorry.
It's okay. So the consent calendar with the 3 honorary resolutions is approved. We'll move to committee reports and we'll start with you, Mr. Chair of Personnel and Human Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met this morning and had a number of action items for us. First, we approved the Parks Department to go to the endowment fund at the Bering Community Foundation for funding to finish the repairs and installation of the statue at Madeline Bertrand Park. The repair's been made and so there's about $1,000 in direct expenses that we'll look for some type of reimbursement from the endowment fund. We also reviewed and approved our August per diems, and then also the Veteran Services grant from the state of Michigan and the amount of $57,053. So we approved all of those. We also reviewed and approved 5 different advanced step hire requests, 3 from the Health Department, 2 from the County Clerk's Office. For the Health Department, we had a nutritionist, resource navigator, and a clinical services provider. And for the Clerk's Office, Clerk 1 and a Clerk 2. So all of those were hired up into the scale. We also reviewed and approved the monthly pension refunds and rollovers for individuals who have left employment at Berrien County. We had a report from Guy Miller, our health officer. He updated us on a number of things. There will be making some changes in our master billing as a result of changes by the federal government regarding COVID-19 vaccinations. They will no longer be funding those. So now it'll become something where we bill, us and other people bill insurance companies for that. So that'll require a change in the fee schedule. And also there'll be a mutual aid agreement for Region 5 coming, and we expect to have those review at our next meeting and then for the board to consider at its following meeting. Then we also had a monthly update from Guy, and he went into detail activities at the Health Department. So it was a good meeting, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Questions for PHS?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just, I meant to note this in PHS, tried to provide the committee with regular updates on hiring status. And I know that we've had some departments talk with you all about the difficulties in hiring, and I'm not in any way dismissing that. But the good news is, and overall look at the county, our numbers are vastly improved over the last couple of years. So as of today, we have a total of 51 openings, of which 37 are full-time and then 14 are part-time. That number is way down compared to where we were a couple of years ago.
Thank you. If there aren't any questions for PHS, Mr. Admin Chair.
Thank you, Mac. First in to see us this morning was the sheriff and the undersheriff, and Commissioner Volrath would like to report out on that.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. We did have a nice meeting with our sheriff and Chuck Height. I guess of note, sheriff sent a letter out this week to most all of us that he is retiring at the end of this year. It's information we already knew, but it's making it official because even though he's recommending Chuck Height as his undersheriff, maybe to replace him because he's retiring a year early. He has 1 year left on his term. He will have to be replaced, and those that will make that decision are prosecutor, our county clerk, and the probate judge. And even though he recommends Chuck, those 3 will make the final decision on who replaces him for the year until the election next year. So he's going to be around a little while, so there's no sense in any long goodbyes here. But he did have a lot of kind words for a lot of the departments and in the sheriff's department that have made him successful over the. He's been in law enforcement for 43 years and 23 years as our sheriff. So he's seen a lot, done a lot, and knows a lot of people, and he had special praise for most all the departments, and we think now and probably for the next few months. So right now, we have a little issue at the jail with overcrowding. This week has gone over the threshold of 341 by a little bit for a couple days. They got it back down, so they're gonna have to watch that real close right now. The judges and everybody will be looking at sentences and who they may be able to release a little early, and who can get out, because we're right there where it's going up almost every day, near the threshold or over. So right now, we're at day one and of being back over that. We have now a resource officer in every public school in Berrien County except Benton Harbor. I think there's 4 or 5 of those who are through the sheriff's department, and some of the other communities have their own, but I think that's a good thing. Each one is significant and unique to their community, so that helps in the schools. And you, if you get a chance to see what these guys do in the schools with the children, you'd be amazed at how the kids react to these people. So I think it's a good thing that when the money's available to have it, has usually been an option, an obstacle for them. But right now, everybody's kind of interested in keeping kids safe, and that's one of the best ways, in my opinion. Our command vehicle is due to come sometime near the end of the year or early next year. It won't be here in time for the Michigan and Ohio State game, but so you'll have to find other transportation, but our $1 million bus is going to be available soon. And anybody got anything else that's the highlight? Peggy sends out that report from the sheriff's department. There's 30 pages, and there's a lot of good information in there, and a lot of things that are happening with the sheriff's department that are outside of what you're going to see anywhere else. We've got new deputies in the jail. Our current folks are out there in the community supporting us everywhere at football games and any community events, and read that information. There's a lot of numbers, but there's a lot of good things that are happening, and the sheriff lets us know that. So that's my report.
Thanks, Dave. Next time we get together, we will have some resolutions for you. Mac and Brian was in to see us, and Brian helped explain a couple of these resolutions, so I will go right to those. Next time we get together, resolution 9282. This is animal control. The Friends of Berrien County Animal Control would like to purchase a vehicle for the animal control staff. Right now, if there is not a vehicle available out of motor pool, they have to use their own personal vehicle. So this would alleviate that need, so that they will have a vehicle dedicated for them to transport animals. Resolution ending in 297. This is to accept funding for the sheriff's department. The deputies that are in the training, law enforcement training right now, their expenses are partially reimbursable. And so in our particular case, it would be an estimated total of $11,166 that we would be able to get reimbursed for. So this is to accept that funding. And then resolution ending in 302. This is to accept the section of Napier Avenue that we talked about this morning from MDOT. And Brian talk to us a little bit more about that particular resolution and the process that they're going to go through because of, I guess, the location of that stretch of road, and anticipating that there may be growth out there as a result of this, that he's going to keep admin apprised, going to keep the college apprised, and any property owners out there apprised of what we have planned. And did you want to expand on that at all, Brian?
Yeah, so what was discussed at the admin committee is the road department is working with a design firm to assist with putting together design for Napier. This is likely to be a major change from what's been out there for decades, but we're also experiencing something that's pretty unique, which is we are living with growth that will come due to the new extension of the interstate. And the closest comparison would be the M6 up in the Grand Rapids area. And you can see pre and post M6 what's occurred in the Caledonia area, which is just a tremendous commercial boom. So what I will do is I'm going to work with Mark and Kevin to make sure that the design consultant is taking into consideration this unique circumstance, taking into consideration what the county is planning for Napier, what the college is planning for its campus, and then doing some type of outreach to try and connect with private property owners that own property fronting this section of roadway, so that that we really are making an effort to anticipate what this area will look like over the next couple of decades. Because we're going to have funding from MDOT. We want to make sure that what gets built is something that is sustainable and that you're not being pressed to rebuild it in a short period of time. Now, with that said, I know that our team is thinking broadly. So I think that I will connect with them later today and talk with them about today's admin meeting. I'm going to guess that they've already got a lot of this already covered, but that's okay. We'll pull them in and just make sure that they're talking with you all. And then if there's a major change coming to that roadway, we'll telegraph that through committee of the whole so that no one is being surprised.
So is it safe to say that the road diet and the 5-foot gravel shoulders are not a done deal at this point until after the engineering study has been done?
Yeah, so Kevin's comment today is based on just some initial concepts that they've been working with. I think that they'll be pretty receptive to jumping through the thought process of, okay, what happens if? And that if could be hotel development, truck stop development, it could be like food logistics development along the interstate. And I think that those are all good thought experiments to do, because if you look at the M6, that's exactly what's occurred. And I talked personally about living with a couple of roommates in college that grew up in Caledonia, and it was a typical one-light town. And in a 25-year period, pre and post M6, it's now essentially an exurb of Grand Rapids. It's become a boom area. And I think there's some likelihood you could see something similar with this new section of highway.
And I think the discussion also went to the fact that once the 1.8 million is spent, it's spent.
Yeah.
It's gone. And then anything other than that has to come from our funds. So we want to be very conscious of what we're doing out there.
Yep.
So thank you for that, Brian.
Yeah, no
Appreciate
problem.
it. And that is our report.
Questions for admin? A comment, we talked in committee about the areas like what Brian mentioned about 94 with 131, 94 and 65 over north of Maryville. Even 9th Street, as you're approaching Kalamazoo, Oshtemo, that's now 5 lanes with a center turn lane because of the hotels, car dealerships, restaurants. I would be opposed to tearing out what's there only to possibly have to go back and build it later. I'd rather bank that money than spend it ripping out 5 lanes of all-weather road. My understanding is it's no longer classified as a state trunk line, but it's still serving a purpose as a trunk line, connecting 2 major interstate highway systems. So, is it correct that that project would require the Board of Commissioners approval to proceed?
Yeah, so you'd be looking at the jurisdictional transfer would be an authorizing resolution. Any contract for the construction.
What I mean is, the road can't be ripped out unless we say, okay, rip it out.
Yeah, so all of the construction contracts are flowing through the board.
An admin committee.
Well, but I think that needs to be expressed. that we want to make that decision. Otherwise, it's not up to us. I
Well,
mean, they're a road department. They make those decisions every day. I would view this more like the Red Arrow Highway project, where we were kept apprised of every step because that was such an important project. I would think we would want to have the same information here that we had with that stretch.
yeah, I sure don't want to be driving on it one day and see them ripping it up.
So I'm gonna work on an email to road department leadership later today. Once we wrap, I'll summarize today's admin committee and ask that they just plan to stay very communicative with the admin committee on what's being planned there.
Okay, because if you park that 1.8 million, that's a lot of money to maintain that road over a period of time. And it's going to be more consistent with the likely intended development of that stretch.
But in all fairness, Mr. Chair, what we were told this morning is that the improvements that the road department wants to make to that stretch is going to eat up that 1.8 million.
I know, and that's why I don't want them doing that.
Okay, then I think that needs to be conveyed to the administrator, and then you work with admin so that those things don't get done, so that we don't know about it after the fact. We want to know about it before the fact,
Exactly.
so that I can bring it to the entire board, so everyone is in the loop. Does that help on the direction?
Is
Okay.
everybody okay with that?
Mr. Chair, just a point of clarification. In the agreement with the state, there is a requirement that the money that they are providing be spent on the project within 5 years. So there'd be a limited opportunity to save.
We'll figure that out. Do we have to start within 5 years or spend it? Okay. All right. Well, we'll be able to do that, I'm sure.
It'll be an expensive dusk to dawn light.
That's all you're.
Probably several LED torch lights that really do a great job of lighting up everything. So, okay. Any other
Just
things for admin?
one quick add, so at the admin committee, there was a brief discussion about the sheriff's takeover of animal control. There was a little bit of back and forth on just the staffing levels as well as just some of the changes. And it's just worth noting that it was the spring of 22 when the sheriff's department took over the animal control officer side of that operation. And I think it's been a really good thing as far as getting the officers fully trained, getting fully staffed, and getting them out into the field. It was April of 22 when the Herald Palladium noted that Sheriff Bailey had recently spent a week as the animal control officer for the county, noting that he was driving all over the entirety of the county as he had the newly hired ACOs working under him, going through training. And he noted in admin that he'll be doing that again over the next couple of days. So I would once again say thank you to Sheriff Bailey for his leadership on this. And then just on a personal note, it was about a year ago, but Sheriff Bailey texted me a video, and it was the ACOs at Michigan State University's campus where they were taking part in a large animal training. And it was an indoor facility where they were essentially being taught how to use ropes to guide cows, bulls, etc. And it was just one of these things that just made me smile ear to ear, because how often they'll use that training, probably not a ton. But the fact is they do have the training and they have had to implement those skills. So Sheriff Bailey is going to get a ton of thank yous as he comes closer to the end of the calendar year. But this is a personal note that I couldn't be happier about the time he's invested into the animal control operation.
Okay. Yeah, I certainly concur and would note that recently the sheriff placed himself in harm's way and was wounded by a wild chihuahua.
Oh, wild chihuahua.
And has a bite mark on his left forefinger to show for it. Anyway, Madam Chair of Finance.
Thank you. This morning, Administrator Dissett and Chairman Elliott came into our committee meeting and we discussed follow-up on the property in Three Oaks. And then we had a number of waiver requests. Let me come to that. The waiver request was with a company called Logicalis, Logicalis. And it's information services for Cisco Emergency Responder. And that was through the Information System Department. And they had budgeted $35,000 for this. And the waiver amount is $10,510. Then we had another from the Health Department, a request to Helmar Scientific. They wanted to buy one vaccination refrigeration unit and 2 vaccination freezer units for Niles. One is for Benton Harbor. And the amount was $22,979. They said that they had been offered a freezer from the state of Michigan. And they said, yes, we'll take it. And it was brought here and it would not go through the doors. The building the doors weren't wide enough. And so they sent it back and that's how they ended up buying the sizes that they did. And it was just what they needed, and they had the funds to do that. Then we went out for bids. And one of the bids was we're buying freezers, walk-in freezers, and this was with building and grounds. And so the amounts came in, the lowest was $39,995. The highest bid was $45,132.06. And we asked that, we make a motion that these bids go to the building and grounds and they hopefully use the lowest one. If does not meet what they require, then, and they must do something else, we ask them to come back to the finance committee and explain why they need to go with the higher bill. Then we had 2 bids. One was, this is building and grounds. All of them are building and grounds. And what the committee decided to do, we want both of them to be rebid or reposted because they did not go out to, they were not sent to bidders. We were depending on the company that's an overseer to get the bids done. And they asked, give us another week or 2, and they're still working on it. So we're not, one, we had no bids, and the other one, the bid was twice as much as what we thought it should be. Yes, yes, yeah. And so we asked them to both be reposted.
So this was the handrail and the spray case?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah, and so we're trying to do good buying. And then we accepted our minutes, and Guy Miller from Director of the Health Department must have had time, and he stopped in to talk to us because what he wanted to let us know is there's $700,000 that will be given to health departments that requested to be able to do anything that they needed to remodel, make something larger, make it smaller, whatever. The examining rooms and things, and they need more room in Niles, Michigan Health Department. They want to move across the hallway to the larger room and re-equip it and make it up to date. And they believe that they're going to have to put money with it, but they do have the money to do that. And so it could be, I thought 700,000 in Benton Harbor and 700,000 in, no, that's not how it goes. 700,000 for all of it, and to do things wherever they need to, new chairs and examining tables and whatever. So that'll be a very good thing. And that's my report. Do you all have anything else to add?
Questions for finance?
The walk-in cooler or freezer for building and grounds, what do they need a walk-in?
I didn't say walk-in. I don't know. Do you think it's walk-in?
I thought that's what you had said.
Yeah.
It is. I was just curious what they needed one for.
It is walk-in freezer. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna go in there.
For the jail, possibly.
Oh, it's a bid.
I think it's juvenile center, but.
Okay.
It's the first one. And the others were for vaccines, so those are just,
Yeah, that was, I understood.
Yeah.
I just was- yes.
that was.
Typically, those go through buildings and grounds, even if it's for a different department.
Okay, gotcha.
So
Oh.
to give a 2 minutes, I'll double check where it's going. I think it's juvenile, but I'll
Yeah,
check.
okay. And that's different from the ones I told you, for the vaccination. More questions?
Anything for finance? Okay, commissioner reports going clockwise.
Thank you, John. Thank you very
Great.
much.
No report.
I attended the ribbon cutting of the nature trail along with Commissioner Werfel at the St. Joe Lincoln Township Senior Center, and also attended the CEO workshop conducted by the Chamber of Commerce.
Quick report today. I had the Community Corrections Advisory Board for the state of Michigan meeting 2 weeks ago, and we approved the funding levels for the community corrections advisory boards around the state. I got to tour the Wigglesworth complex. They just built a new jail and public safety complex. So we got to walk through the jail side, public safety complex, and what they're doing in this new pod system. So that was very informational, and we will have those quarterly. I believe our next one is in February of next year. That is my report.
No report. Where was that at?
No report.
As Commissioner Harrison said, we attended the ribbon cutting for the new nature trail at the senior center. That was very nice and well attended. Senator Nesbitt was there as well as St. Joe Township officials. We have Brownfield this afternoon, and that's it.
No report, but I just want to throw out there that the Berrien County GOP has their Thank a Vet dinner coming up. And if you know any veterans interested in attending that dinner, I did purchase a VIP table there, so I have 20 tickets designated for veterans. So if you know anyone interested in attending, they don't have to pay, they're free tickets, so just let them know. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no report except Brownfield is at 12:30. Just.
Duly noted, 12:30.
Yep.
We'll be
Well-
there with bells on. So I do have a report, a couple of meetings this week. We had a broadband BC Bit meeting. Commissioner Kern was there, Commissioner Bell was there for a short period of time. And what we discussed was just the status of everything as we wait for the MyHigh office to finalize the Robin Grant applications. I do believe that there's to be a meeting with the state and the selected ISP to discuss the status of all of that. My understanding is that there were challenges for almost every application that was submitted to the state. And so that will be part of what will be lined up. I know that that ISP is working on the engineering component, and then those agreements that will need to be drafted with the different municipalities that offer support outside of just verbal support. So that is in the works. We've also discussed sitting down with some of the other ISPs within Berrien County who do service here, talking to them about areas that will still remain unserved even after Robin build out, and what that might look like for them with different funding sources that are out there. We have BEAD coming online. But there is also another program called ACAM, and it is a funding that is tied to the universal service fee that different internet providers can tap into for funding to build out. And so we're just trying to get a better understanding about that. And I just have to say, again, this board has been really forward thinking, and the contract that we have with DCS Technologies and the owner of that firm has been invaluable for the work that we continue to do, talking to the ISPs and learning about funding sources like ACAM and what impacts that may have for BEAD funding, but also how we can interact with the different ISPs here to kind of get us over that objective of full build out. The other meetings that I attended, I won't be quite so winded on. Planning Commission for the county. We had a few different rezoning requests from Coloma Township and New Buffalo Township. We proceeded with one on the recommendation. The other one, we needed to have a little bit of follow-up discussion with the township in New Buffalo. Housing Resource Network, this is a group of different agencies that work with those who may be homeless or in jeopardy of becoming homeless. And we had some Fair Housing Act training that we did, and that was super helpful. And then last but not least, I know that the Lincoln Township Library has reached out to me, and they would like to come up here and have an opportunity to present a library card to Commissioner Harrison and Commissioner Werfel and myself, because we're within that district. But it is Library Card Month. And so I would encourage us all, if we don't have our library card, which I already have mine from Lincoln Township, that we would get our library card.
Thank you.
So that's my report, sir. Thank you.
Ma'am.
I didn't have a report, but bouncing off of that, I didn't know it was Library Card Month. It's almost over. I'm the president of the Benton Harbor Public Library, or the maybe El Yarborough Public Library. And that's wonderful. I think they should come.
Yeah.
And they could do an interlibrary loan thing and make us all Lincoln Library people.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right on.
Okay, you want to talk about a walk-in freezer
Yeah.
for a second?
So walk-in freezer is going to animal control, so it's used for evidence of any type of animal cruelty case that would tie back to the sheriff's department and ultimately prosecution efforts. And it only took me like 3 texts to get that.
Do you have anything?
Yeah, I do. So Annette, are you ready? Thank you. So PHS got an update today from Jill Adams on the restoration of the statue at Madeline Bertrand. And this is one. So here you're going to see the original sculptor, and you can see the restored statue having been reinstalled. So Jill had put together a blurb about this. I'll have that in Friday's update to you all. But it's a neat story. Her staff has worked to in the process of the recovery, in the process of the police reports, and then to actually go back to the sculptor and do the repair. It's a really nice ending to kind of a crummy situation. So this is a major point of pride for the park staff. And if you see Jill, just give her a pat on the back. It's a job well done. So you'll see more about that in tomorrow's weekly update, but I just thought you should see the actual image of the completed work.
Thank you. We'll go to general public comments now. Anything under the sun? Excuse me. 2 minutes or less, name and town.
Good morning, Melissa Clapper, St. Joe Charter Township, with the announcement of Sheriff Bailey deciding to take advantage of retirement at the end of this year. Would just like to suggest that the public be made aware of how that process is going to work to put an interim in place with the 3. Is there, will there be, do they have to post, so other people, how that process works? Will it happen prior to, the sheriff leaving or right afterwards? So just a suggestion that the public be made aware of how that process is going to work. Thank you. Yeah, the sheriff.
Be heard? Yes, sir.
Dr. Hager. I came here this morning, I didn't find one of these. This came from the young lady just up here a while ago. She let me have it. This is the agenda. So I don't know, maybe I didn't run off enough or something. But I do believe I have a right when I come in here to have a copy of this. So maybe watch out for it. Next time, make sure you get enough out there. Okay, now what she was saying about the sheriff, if you guys were to put that newsletter out that I keep hounding you for once a month, you can put something in there and then proceed the process of how we go about getting another sheriff in there. No, you don't want to do that. Now, and I went to a car show last Saturday, at Lutheran School out there in Glenmore. And I had to go to the restroom, and they happened to have a fountain right outside the restroom. And guess what? That's what should be right out there. The one I told you about last week, the one that's out there at the health club out there I go. You know, it's got a filter in it, so you don't have to smell that stuff that they put in there. And it's got, for filling the bottle, you know, it's about $1,500. Now, this is a private school. Now, where do they get the money from? They don't get any public funds. No, it's a Lutheran school. They do not get 7,000 or what might be $8,000 for every kid that's in school. If you go to the public schools, I'm sure you don't have something like that. So that's about all. Now, and here's sheriff report, right? Once a month, he puts out one of these, right? You guys can't even put out once a month to notify us. If he can do it, why can't you?
2 minutes, sir.
Anyone else wish to be heard?
Michael Haskins, Pipestone Township. With regard to the Napier project, I believe there's been one county department left out of the planning, and that would be community development. That area from the interchange with 194 and 96 headed south to the Sodas Parkway is prime property for all types of future development. It currently contains 1 asphalt plant, 3 concrete ready mix providers, and other businesses. Let's not downsize Napier and literally slit our throats horizontally. Thank you.
I think we've covered everyone.
I guess I'll get up there just to tell you the process, and Thaddeus can correct me. For my replacement, it's up to the prosecutor, clerk, and the probate judge. They can take applications or they can make a replacement without taking any application. It is the 3 of theirs decision. They need 2 out of the 3 to appoint my replacement, but they don't have to meet with anybody. They don't have to get any, you know, if they do open it up for taking applications, people can write letters of reference for whoever puts in, but they could decide to replace me without having any applications, but it's up to those 3 people. Nobody else gets any, you know, input on what their decision on and who my replacement's gonna be. Thaddeus, would you concur?
I do.
Okay, so that's the process. Well, they could do it anytime. It would come, they could make the appointment that would come effective January 1st. So they could make that decision, but it's up to the 3 of them when they meet and when they're gonna make that decision.
Correct. Okay, any other business? Any announcements, reminders? The only one I can think of then is we'll be back here at 8:35 next Thursday morning. Have a good week.
They don't have.
So,